What's good, everybody? Is when I come back at y'all with another video. So this video, I wanted to talk about um, a very powerful topic, and this topic is your relationship with your past and how you actually have the power to revisit your past and change it. Now, when I say revisit your past, of course, you have your memories of different events that happen, and generally the moments, the memories, the major memories of your past. Typically, those were the moments in your life where you experience high levels of emotion, right? Whether it's positive or negative, right? Because most of the events that happened that didn't elicit any emotions, right? That you were just indifferent. Um, I'm sure there was less reason for you to remember those moments compared to those major moments of like reactions, right? For both good and bad things. We have our good memories of times where we got good grades, where we worked really hard studying for an exam or writing a paper and we ended up getting a good grade from it, or graduating, or getting gifts for our birthdays, or experiencing trips, right? Or moments with friends, um, or instances with family, right? And then we also had our quote unquote bad experiences, right? They could have been health scares. It could have been moments where you failed exams or classes. Could have been other moments where you may have, you know, lost loved ones or things like that, right? We have moments in our past that are both good and both quote unquote bad, right? The entire spectrum, right? You have your great events and you have your contrast. You have the power to revisit your past and change it. And this is mostly for the quote unquote bad events, right? Because of course, if you had great events, then sure, when you look back at it, it helps you smile and you feel good. But for the bad events, you have the power to change it. And now, by changing, I'm not saying going back and actually altering the event that happened, because of course it happened. But when I say change it, I'm referring to adjusting your energy and your perspective around that event, right? Because it is a tendency for a lot of people to have experienced hardship, struggle in their life, and they carry that hardship and that struggle as part of their identity, right? We've seen it numerous times from people where they may introduce themselves and they'll, say their names, and then when you ask them about themselves, they'll explain the sob story that they've gone through. And by no means am I trying to diminish anyone's experiences, because I understand people have gone through trauma, struggle, like real hardship experiences, right? What I'm saying is attaching your identity, attaching those hardships to your identity is what keeps that those hardships, it's what continues the hardships in your life, right? Because it's almost like it's baggage, and you're carrying that baggage along with you year after year after year, right? Rather than hitting that reset button. But for this, I want to refer to like specific instances, right, of your past. So for me, if I give an example for myself, as a kid, I was brought up in humble beginnings, and I remember being told as a kid, if you do good in school, if you do well, that you'll be rewarded, will get you the things that you want. And so as a kid, right, I felt that that was a great trade-off, because I'm going to school, right? I'm being basically doing what's being asked of me and what's obligated of me, right? As a kid, that's pretty much your only obligation: go to school and do well. So I was doing that, and I was always a good student. And I remember being in school and seeing other kids, like say it's elementary school, even middle school. But I want to use elementary because, of course, the younger that I am, right? If I'm like 7, 8, 9 years old, of course, I still know nothing about the world around me, right? So I would be, say this is third grade, right? I'll be in third grade, and um, you know, I would wear whatever clothes my parents purchased, right? But I remember being in like third grade and seeing other students who um, weren't good students whatsoever. Like they would always get in trouble. They would always get into fights, right? But these kids would always have the new pair of Jordans. They would always have the nice clothing. And I didn't think too much of it, but I did notice it because I would see, wow, like those are some nice shoes. And they would say, yeah, these are the new Jordans with the new color, blah, blah, blah. So, of course, I was oblivious to it all the time. But then I would see those same kids continuously always get new pairs of shoes, right? Like I would see it. I'm like, okay, well, this shoe looks really nice, but this was different from the other shoe you had because your first shoe was white and this one's black. And then you have another new shoe and this one's red, right? And so I was seeing that other kids that weren't doing well were getting rewarded. And so I remember my birthday comes along, and of course, being that I've always done well in school and I was always the good kid, I never got in trouble, never did anything wrong. I remember my birthday comes along and I asked for a gaming console. I don't remember what console it is, but at the time it was a new gaming console came out, and so I asked, for it. And I just remember the face of despair from my parents, right? Because immediately once I asked for it, they looked at each other because they knew they couldn't afford it. And for me, that was such a tough moment as a kid. Of course, I cried because for me, I didn't understand why that couldn't be done, right? I didn't understand why other kids who were from the same neighborhood that I was from, right? Probably living similar situations, right? At least financially, I didn't understand why the kids that were that didn't do well in school, that were always in trouble, could get what they wanted, and I couldn't. And I never really asked for anything, right? And so the one time I did ask for something, it was like, oh, we can't afford it. Let's get you something else. And so that was a tough moment for me as a kid because that's when I realized that I wasn't going to get the things that I wanted, right? Even if I did very well. Now, there's no knock to my parents, of course. Like in hindsight now, it's like I don't knock them for it because they did the best that they could. And I wasn't the only child, right? I was one of three. So they, of course, had other children to worry about. And, obviously, I would like to think everyone is trying their best, right? So for the longest time as a kid, I sort of held that within me, that frustration. But now as an adult, right, I revisit it and I smile because that was an integral moment in my life where it just told me, that it's okay, that your parents were still doing the best that they could and they still set you up for success. They put you in a position to go out and succeed and to go further in life than they did. And so because even if they didn't have the finances to get you what you wanted at that time, that doesn't mean that they weren't trying. That doesn't mean that they did their best. And in fact, they did put you on the right path in all other areas. And regardless if those other kids that were always getting in trouble in school always got the new pair of sneakers or always got the new clothes, like the freshest clothing, it's looking back at it in hindsight, I wouldn't trade my situation for theirs because I know that I had loving parents who took care of me and wanted the best for me and put me in a position to succeed. And I know for a fact the same can't be said for those other kids, right? I know and I've seen it from first experience that those kids, at least had one or maybe both parents who kind of just gave them the freedom to do whatever they want. And so because of that, that's what led them down the path of trouble and fights and all that stuff, right? So being in the position that I am now, I was able to revisit my past, right? Because, randomly sometimes we think of our past, right? We just think of different moments, right? Or events can happen in our present moment where it would just like spark the memory of an event that happened in the past. And it's sort of like revisiting that, I felt a level of peace and I couldn't help but to smile because it taught me that it was okay. It taught me that, when I get to the point where I'm older or grown, right, that I can work for the things that I want. And then when a time comes when I have my family and I can have my children, then I'll be able to give them the experiences that I wasn't able to have, and I can live through them. And that's okay too, you know? And so this is what I mean by revisiting your past and changing. The event itself stays the same, but because you can change your perspective on it and your feelings on it, it effectively changes that event. Because then you'll look at it differently. Your energy about it is different. I can look back at it and smile and say, you know what? That was meant to happen because that brought me to where I am now. And that allowed me to be grateful and appreciative for the things that I do have. Because what you need to understand if you're watching this video, you may be frustrated, angry, pissed off of your situation, pissed off of where you're at and where things are going for you right now. You might be very angry, right? But what you need to understand is where you are at in your life right now, you are living someone else's dream life, right? Someone else who could be having it a lot harder than you is praying to be in your position. You are literally in the shoes of someone else's dream life because they're so far behind, right? They might be in a position where they may not even have their basic needs met of food, water, shelter, clothing, things like that, right? And so someone in that position could be praying to be in a spot where they're able to have their basic needs met. And chances are, if you're watching this video, right, chances are your basic needs are met. And I hope your basic needs are met, right? That's something to be grateful for that we often overlook and don't even think twice about, right? If you have your basic needs met, you are lucky. You are blessed. Things are going well for you, right? And if you're mad and frustrated about your position in your situation, there is truly no need to be, right? Because you have the power to create. If you're vibrating anger and frustration, you're bringing more of that into your life, right? You want to vibrate positivity. You want to be happy. You want to be secure. Now, I understand there's the desire to have goals, dreams, and aspirations, right? Things that we want to go out and accomplish. Trust me, I understand that. But while you're on your journey towards accomplishing that goal and the dream, you should be happy because right now you're on the journey there, right? And the journey is supposed to be fun. Right? This life is meant to be enjoyed, right? So that's the reason for smiling. But just remember that your position that you're at right now, you're in someone else's dream position, right? Even if you may be looking at other people and thinking, oh, well, you see the position that person's in, like, I want to be in that person's shoes. Well, you're already in someone else's, dream position right now. So you want to take that into perspective. But going back to the title of this video, right? You having the power to revisit your past and change it. You do, right? You can let go of the tough times. You can reflect and say, you know what? Those tough times were meant to happen to build me into the person I am now. Right now, I'm in the perfect position because now I have a better understanding of who I am and what it is that I want out of life. And I can create the life that I want. So those experiences help shape me into who I am now. And it's taught me many life lessons, and I will carry that with me moving forward. And you can do that for all events that happen in your past, right? There's no need to be angry and frustrated, right? And have that resentment built up. It's okay to let go, right? It's okay to change it and say, you know what? Maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe it was actually a good thing. Maybe it was a good thing because it is. Things don't happen to you, they happen for you to help bring out the best version of yourself and to help you learn about yourself to create the life that you've always wanted, right? Contrast or the quote unquote bad events that happen are never actually bad. So just remember with the story that I shared with you, that personal story I shared with you, that you have the power to revisit your past and change it for the better. So that wraps up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe as we are on the road to 1 million subscriber, guys. So once again, it's Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.